What is freaking up? My name is Eve.
My name is Sarah.
And we are Bird Dad Perfectionist. This week we're going to do a little bit of a rant and rave. Rant and rave. I feel like I have to say rave too, just so that it sounds a bit more positive.
Well, we'll say positive things too, but today, while we are filming, it is November 1st. It is extremely cold outside, in my opinion.
Actually, let me pull up my weather app.
Sarah's talking about the weather. I don't know. Again, it might just be super freaking cold in the basement, but
I think it's just cold in the basement.
I would think there's
8 degrees.
Oh,
Celsius.
What? Oh, there's supposed to be freezing rain in the area at one point, so
Ew.
that's always fun. Yeah. So Halloween is done. Am I sad? No, because I had the entire month of October to celebrate.
Also, I would like to also state that it wasn't even like October. All those spooky bitches started at the beginning of August.
You were telling me that, and I was like, what are you, like, I love spooky things year round, but when I start focusing on Halloween stuff, I start thinking sometimes about Halloween costumes in like August, but I don't talk about it with a bunch of people because sometimes you got to pre-order stuff and it's usually significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
But I'm not like going to HomeSense buying Halloween stuff.
Like, I was like, what are you talking about? Why is it the middle of, it was 35 degrees Celsius out. Like, why are you buying Halloween stuff?
Or the folks who are buying like their sweaters and stuff like that already and they're like posing in their houses. I'm like, you must have amazing air conditioning.
Well, exactly. Also, the people that are like, oh, it's spooky season now. And I'm like, I don't like the summer, to be honest. But like, I'm also not the type of person that's like, oh my God, it's 35 degrees outside. Let me wear a pumpkin sweater.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, for somebody who really likes stuff like that, but like, I love watching like a scary movie at the end of August. But I feel like what's happened is, I don't know if it was the pandemic. I feel like this was happening way before that, but I feel like people really start like going for holidays like really freaking early now.
I feel like, although I had discussed with Sarah this before, I'm not a huge Halloween person. I enjoy the fall, but I'm a lot more of like a winter person.
Yeah.
And to have like everybody say, oh, it's Halloween, you're not allowed to do like Christmas stuff. There is no, like, good alternative to Halloween.
No, there's no, like, secondary alternative. Like, well, there's, like, the fall girly aesthetic or Halloween.
But, like, at the same time, like, that's only, like, pumpkin spice and, like, infinity scars and boots. That's what I think of.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is, like, having that. Well, there's someone tried to create the, like, are you the cute spooky or are you the creepy spooky Halloween girl? And I was like, how far are we going to subset Halloween?
You just make a new name for it, like a ghoul girl or a Halloween girl. Like, let's switch it up a little bit because like it hits August and I'm like, why? Just why? And I'm like, oh, the leaves are changing. And then why do people shit on the people who are excited November 1st about Christmas or like the winter holidays?
Okay, so I have to set like a hard start for Christmas because my husband would like the Christmas tree up in July if he wanted to. And I'm like, okay, so
July is a thing.
I know it's a thing. It's actually a thing that was created by mass marketing to promote commercialism for them to clean out their stock. But that was kind of, I was like, hey, like, I don't really, our daughter's birthday is the beginning of November. So I'm like, if we could hold off until like a week into November, that would probably be like a nice thing to do. But just so she has that chance to like celebrate her birthday without a million things around. But honestly, like, I don't care. So today we're like, oh, it's November 1st. And in my personal opinion, I think as a Halloween girly that Halloween, if it falls on a weekday, the kids should get a Prody day, either the day after or trick-or-treating should, like, they could still dress up and like Halloween still exists on like the weekday. But say if it's on like it was yesterday, if it's on a Tuesday, yesterday was Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Then why don't we have it where the actual trick-or-treating events happen on the Friday?
I would like to counter with, why don't we do it the Saturday prior?
that's the whole thing, or just have it as like a set day. Like I know they're always like, it's October 31st, it's the end of the month, blah 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 blah. But like,
Which is like great and all, but also like if you did it on the Saturday prior,
Yeah.
the kids off have the Sunday off.
Yeah.
The adults who partake in the drink, have a day to be not hungover unless you work in a field where you work on weekends. And then you can get back to like, you can have that like in between like couple of days of like transitioning from like Halloween to like more winter things.
like it may be controversial, but like I was not sending my kid to school today.
I also feel like the people like Halloween, you still eat Halloween candy for like ever. You celebrate Halloween stuff from like the end of September to like October.
Yeah.
Well, like the like winter Christmas people, they're like, you're only like December 1st. I'm sorry, I only get like a half a month.
Oh,
And then kids are off. Like, rude.
Oh, I know, right? But that's yeah. I decided I was not gonna send her today because I was just like, she's tired, first off. She looks at me and she goes, I'm exhausted, and fell back asleep again. And then she was up later than what she was because we went trick-or-treating with her friend like in the city instead of like where we are. And which was super fun and awesome. And we ate tacos, which I always love a good taco moment. But I totally understand. Also, like, for the sake of our teachers and daycare providers and principals, can we just not?
My secondary thing to bring up with that is parents driving to rich neighborhoods for like just like driving to rich neighborhoods, not because like you were meeting with a group.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like a group, and you were going around the neighborhood of one of the people.
Yeah.
People are like driving to like the other side of the freaking city to get full size, and I was so sad because I had like 5 people, like 5 kids.
Which is so funny because like the route where you live on is like where kids like usually when they walk to school, they come by here.
Yeah.
Which I thought is so weird that they didn't think about coming down here. And I know that like probably almost everybody had their lights on and was waiting.
No, we were all sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like it hit like 8:30, hit 10, and I was like, well, like, where is everybody?
So speaking to that, when Ben and I were like flicking through like Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that, like last night after we got home, we noticed that everybody's pictures, it was still bright outside.
Okay, so I turned the light on at like 4:45.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, it's a little bit earlier, but like usually you can get the like super young kids.
The itty bitties that are dressed as some animal or something.
Exactly. Slap them in a onesie. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like sitting there for like 2 hours. This one person came. And I was like, wow, this is fun. And I was talking to my friend at work, and we were both like, we're kind of sad.
Well, and that's the whole thing is like the place where I was staying. So it was a little bit different. The dads took the kids out this year for trick-or-treating, which is fun. And I was in a Tigger romper. So she goes, hey, like, do you mind handing out candy at my door? I'm like, no. They're in like an area where there's tons of people, and they live on the corner. Like, you would think that's prime. The lights are on. They've got decorations all over their front door. And I had 2 groups, in total 5 kids that I saw.
I was like,
man, when the second set of kids came, it was like 7. I'm like, here's some handfuls.
like I was giving out handfuls to all of the kids, and I was just like, oh, okay. And it was like, it went dark, and I was like, okay, like, usually you would hear like kids laughing down, and for like the past, I'd say almost like 4 or 5 years, nobody has come, or it's been like very little.
I have a question. We actually noticed this because where we went this year, and I didn't ask any of the neighbors or stuff like that, but did you hear fireworks or anything last night?
Yes.
Firecrackers? Okay, we didn't. We didn't have any.
Oh my God. There was like, it started probably around like 6:30.
Oh,
and it was like back to back until probably 7:30.
Oh, okay. We didn't have any of that. I was like, I'm kind of surprised. I'm like, I wonder if it's just because of like budgets.
Budgets cannot have fire.
Heck.
I understand, but like gas is expensive. Like, wouldn't you like want to go like just around the neighborhood and like see all of your neighbors and be like, oh my God, look at how doing the child is.
Oh my God. Segue. Beep beep. To there's a family that's in Calgary, Alberta, who only gives out 2 liters of soda.
Oh yeah, I've seen them.
Oh yeah. Like I saw them last year. And then they went viral again this year. They're like our prep for soda. And everyone's like, how much did you spend? And then other people are like, where do you live?
So I can get soda.
Yeah, but I'm just laughing because like 2 liters of soda, anytime we get a 2 liter, it goes flat. We forget about it in my house. That shit doesn't last, doesn't keep. Like I was like, oh my kid got 3 cans of pop last night.
Oh really?
3 cans of pop. One of them was Schweppes ginger ale. I was like, oh, someone's giving out mix. And then she got like the little bags of chips, but some of them she got like bigger bags of chips, and she got a shit ton of full-size chocolate bars.
Oh,
like I was baffled, but I know that they were on sale at Costco, so maybe that was kind of like the prime of it. But
I saw this girl on TikTok, and she was like, I'm so excited because I heard that like there's lots of kids in my neighborhood, and she bought a bunch of like candy bars, and she bought a bunch of cans of pop, and people's parents made them come back and give them the pop and say, oh, they're not allowed to have pop, it has too much sugar, but they would take the full-size candy bar.
Oh, that's weird.
Like, then don't take your kids trick-or-treating if you're gonna put restrictions on what they're getting.
So usually what I do, because I know that there's like little people or there's like kids who have allergies and stuff like that, what I usually do is I'll get like those sun-ripe fruit leathers, and I'll generally have a bowl of like those and a bowl of candy. And in some cases, if I'm feeling really, really OCD, I will have a thing and it'll say under 3, or if you don't want like unnatural sugar. And then I'll have one that has all the peanut ones, and that'll be like furthest at the top of the stairs, like if peanuts are okay for you, and then the other ones will be at the bottom. And I'll get like the non-peanut ones in the chocolate one, and then sometimes if the Maynard's one goes on sale, I get those, because then if they're left over, I can eat them. So
I love that Maynard.
I know, my husband's like, nobody likes it. They were the first thing to go last year. It was like Maynard, Starburst, and something else. But we stuck those out. But yeah, I don't know. I even checked like my Ring camera. I'm not one to post footage of the kids and stuff like that. I know people do that, but I checked my camera. There was like, I think I had like 3 or 4 people come up, like not a whole lot of people. I still had half a container of candy. This could be at fault of my husband, who I did not give full explicit instructions to when I said to leave the bucket of candy outside. I said, just put it in a bucket that we don't care about. And we got one from like, when we went to the pumpkin patch, the bucket, it was like a little like, Halloween bucket that Charlie stuff came in. Well, did you know that every Monday we have a new episode? This is your friendly reminder. And if you enjoyed today's episode, if it tickled your fancy, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your friends, your family, or your coworkers who are also bored and doing meaningless work and love to listen to podcasts at the same time. So together we can spread wisdom, joy, and fill those quiet voids in the office.
And don't forget to join our community and never miss an episode. By doing that, you can subscribe, like, and even maybe do a follow on our Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, and many more at Burnt Out Perfectionist. Our Instagram is a little bit different. Gotta spice it up a bit. It's burnt.out.perfectionist on Instagram. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. You can also email us at burntoutperfectionist@gmail.com. And I hope you have a warped and twisted day as ever. Peace.
And he's like, oh yeah, I just filled that up, which is great. Like it's a solid size bucket. It used like half the box or whatever. And last year we didn't feel like we got a lot of people either. So he put it like beside the door. There was no sign. There's just a bucket sitting there. I would have personally just put it in the middle of the stairs.
Yeah.
Because then people see it more. But I don't know. I don't know if it's just like people are taking their kids to specific areas. I did for the first time this year. I actually took my kid to like the local mall because it's open from like 3 to 6 for trick or treating, and certain stores will do it. And there's stuff donated from places like Sunripe, and a bunch of other like random stores that are within the area. And my kid was stoked because she basically got like, she's like, I can eat these at school. I literally probably got like $300 if you were to buy it at the store. Like half a medium-sized reusable bag of snacks for school.
Yeah.
And some of them were giving one, and some of them were giving like a ton. At one point, she was like, it's okay. I have a lot of them already. I'll just take one.
This like older lady who lives with like a couple streets down.
Yeah.
She had the most magical gardens. Every year we would go. It was like the hot. She goes, I just love to see all of the little ones all dressed up. And I'm like they don't get anybody either. And I just think of like, I know she's dead now, but like
Yeah.
a little old lady waiting at the
Well,
door.
that's the whole thing is I'm just like, do we just live in neighborhoods that people don't really come to? I'm like, I don't want to say it out loud, but it's like the spirit of Halloween. Like, is it just all about costumes and people partying? Like,
But I have also felt like the costume game this year, like people are just not going for it.
or people are like, oh my God, they were totally slaying. And I'm like, you just showed me the same. I sent you a couple TikToks.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so many people dressed up as like Timothy Chalamet and Pete doing that ski, which is a funny costume. But
Yeah.
like, I know a lot of them are like pop culture ones, but I saw a lot of those are ones that are like almost as interesting as like Karen's costume in Mean Girls, where she's like, I'm a mouse. And it was like a couple of them I had to look at the costume and be like, what is that?
I'm sorry. You know what absolutely killed me this year?
What?
Is them taking animated like children's characters and making them sexual.
Oh yeah.
Like I saw Bibble, like the princess,
yes.
like Barbie.
Princess.
No, Barbie fairy something.
Oh, okay.
And then I saw the Toy Story alien, and I was like, oh, okay. And it's not like oh, it's sexy, like she's showing some, like, I'm like, wow, that is a lot.
I found that there was a lot of people who were basing things off of kids' things.
I also found that a lot of people were like characters, like all the same characters. Like it was like,
I'm not gonna lie, I personally was Wednesday Addams from grade 1 to grade 5.
but also
Because it was easy. I had dark hair.
that wasn't super common. Like there was other people. Like this year, Addams Family, I'm pretty sure I've seen 5 times. Or Dorothy, or the Cinder. Like people are doing family costumes,
Yeah.
and they'll be like Cinderella's family, or like Rapunzel was a lot. Like people would do like
Yeah.
their mom and dad being Rapunzel and Flynn, and then their like kid would be Pascal.
Oh my God, or Princess Diaries.
Princess, yeah.
I saw that one a lot. I was like, and then I was like, okay, so a lot of people who do those like super intricate, like crazy costumes. I saw that some people were dressing up as like a lot of characters and stuff like that because of the SAG actor strike.
Which I thought that was just for new stuff. I need to read up on the information.
I don't know. Like someone said that, and then I saw people like dressing up as like, it was really funny because if they didn't want to dress up as like a movie character, they would dress up like adjacent. So instead of like dressing up as Beetlejuice and Lydia, it was Beetlejuice and Lydia from the Broadway musical.
Yeah.
So it would be like a little bit adjacent. I saw a couple things that were like, obviously there was a ton of Barbies. Like we knew
A lot
that
of
was
Barbies.
when I was little, there was always a lot of Barbies and different variations of Barbie, which was great. I loved that Ugly Barbie was
Was a hit.
scene, was a huge hit, and I loved that.
I also feel like there wasn't as many good movies that came out this year.
Probably because of the SAG actors.
Well, like this was like before it, but also like remember when it was like Barbie versus Oppenheimer?
Barbie versus Oppenheimer.
I was like, I'm sorry. I would have expected like Polly Pocket versus Barbie, not a documentary about Oppenheimer.
Yeah, no.
Not a documentary, but
I'm super surprised too that there wasn't a lot more like Elemental had come out. I feel like that could have been like a huge thing that people could have dressed up like.
it's such a cute couple costume.
I know, like a couple costume or even just like being inspired by that and do.
I mean, it's kind of or like people would wear outfits, and I was like, "What are you?"
Oh, I was so excited when I went to the mall because I saw a little boy dressed as Shazam. And I was like, oh my goodness. He's like, what? I'm like, you're the only Shazam I've seen this Halloween. And he's like, really? Oh, I was buying a pretzel for my kid. And his mom was there and his mom smiled. She's like, thanks. And I was like, seriously, I think everybody is Spider-Man this year. He burst out laughing. He goes, they are. Which for the Halloween dance, because it was like the thinnest costume. My kid did wear her Miles Morales Spider-Man costume. But that is frequently worn in my house at all times. I never know if I have my daughter or if I have Spider-Man.
Also, like, I understand that, like, I feel like kids are a lot more, like, it's like a revamp of things. So, like, your kid's, like, into Pokemon, which is, like, great. Spider-Man. And I'm like, these are all the same shows that, like, I watched.
Yeah, because they brought them out and stuff like that again. The only ones that I thought were kind of like interesting is there's a lot of people who dress their kids up as things that those kids have no idea what they are.
Oh my God. You know, my favorite one was the amount of people that were Shigo.
Oh my, right? And I was
so lost.
I feel like when I watched Kim Possible, it wasn't as popular as like what people think it is today.
I feel like I saw a couple of people dressed up as it, and I was like, oh, okay. But, like, there wasn't, like, when you would see couples costumes, all I would see is Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, or Hailey Bieber and Justin Bieber in this one picture, or, like very specific things. And I was like, oh, like, or people are like, oh, I'm just going as a deer. And, like, they would put, like, a black nose on, like, the carrot. And I was like,
oh, my favorite thing that I noticed and Ben noticed was, like, a huge trend. There was a lot of chickens this year.
Yes,
a lot of chickens.
There was a lot of chickens.
I mean, you always get like the dinosaurs. Those are like my favorite blow-up costumes. They just bring joy everywhere they are.
Dragons. Yeah. Out of the 6 kids I saw, 4 of them were dragons.
Well, and that's the whole thing is like, I was just like, oh, like a chicken, which is cool because you know what? I didn't see a ton of people dressed as a clown and I was really happy about that.
But even like, I remember growing up, I dressed up as Astrid from How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I dressed up as Snow White from Once Upon a Time, like a TV show. And like, you could be very, like, you could pick a character and be very specific. Like, even a couple of years ago, Alicia Marie was freaking, oh my God, I let's call him Andy. Eddie from Stranger Things.
Oh, that was a sick costume.
But like, that's sick. She was like, oh yeah, I get told I look like him. I'm gonna embrace it. And I was like, that's a sick costume. Like, it's common clothing, but like, it's a specific character out of a show.
The one that I saw that was super popular on TikTok and it blew my mind was One Tree Hill.
Oh my God.
And the people, which I am a massive stan for One Tree Hill. Like, I love that show. And I was completely baffled at how many people were dressed up in the cheerleading outfits.
His name's under my name on the door pane. The amount of times that I heard that sound. And I was like, they would do that. And then their guy friends would be football players. I'm like, could you not have just gotten them jerseys and they could be the Scots?
Well, and that's the whole thing. Oh, I saw a couple girls who had their boyfriends as the One Tree Hill, and the jerseys looked really nice. And I was like, those jerseys are expensive.
Not really. You can get them on Amazon for like $30.
Okay, these ones weren't shiny though. These were like the actual like nice ones. I was like, oh, look at that.
But I was like, oh, and then the amount of parents that I like this stick their kid in like a random animal onesie. Like, I'm not talking babies. I'm talking like 10-year-olds. And they're like, oh, you are a giraffe. I was like, oh, like, I remember when kids would like commit.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, I've spent weeks on this costume.
That was me.
But like, I was like,
I was like,
look at how great you're doing. And they're like, oh, this is so great. Or people, instead of dressing as the characters, are dressing as like the modern day versions of which then also leads me to my frustration of people in when it gets cold. People get either really picky about what candy you choose, or it's like their big heads come out. If I could purchase candy, I hope you enjoy it, even if you trade it off at lunchtime.
Oh, yeah. What was your favorite random original costume that you saw this year, whether it was online or in person? Also, I didn't see as many Hocus Pocus people as I thought I would.
Oh, so many. Mine would be the original strawberry shortcake.
Oh.
Like with the puffy hat.
Yeah.
And like all of their friends were all of the characters from the old, like, I call it the old, like the 80s version of strawberry shortcake.
The 80s version? Because there's so many variations.
The one with the really puffy hat where she was like, kind of looked like a doll.
Oh, okay. So that would be mine. So that would be the
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
And like they all come in and I was like, this is adorable. Not currently. No.
I think my favorite original costume that I saw was that little boy who's dressed up as Morgan Wallen.
Oh my god, the little kid who like leaned against the wall.
That was the cutest freaking thing I've ever seen. And he knew the songs. Like, he was actually a Morgan Wallen fan. And he knew the songs. There wasn't like someone coaching him. They literally just put the karaoke version on. He's like, "Just we want to lick a chalk." And it was so cute, which I know some people may think that was inappropriate for a kid, but it was the fucking cutest thing I've ever seen. We've never been this close. So, fun fact. We don't have Venmo yet. But if you'd like to sponsor me
to get her a new microphone.
My microphone just died while we were recording. Fun times. But yeah. So there was, Halloween shenanigans and all that other stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if just like maybe there's like so many more people who are hyped about Christmas and like talking about Christmas, or if things are just kind of dulling down around Halloween, or if there's just like too much crazy shit going on in this world and people are just like, fuck it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I feel like over the past couple of years, it hasn't been like, maybe it's like the panorama was like terrifying enough.
Yeah. But I'm just like, really? Because I love that. Like, I love seeing like a neighborhood that's like literally alive with like people walking around and everybody's in costumes, and you get to see lots of like fun things. Like the trick-or-treating at the mall was pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there was tons of people there.
But like, it used to be like every neighborhood had like hundreds of kids. Maybe it's because people aren't having kids, like as many kids anymore.
Oh my God, that actually makes sense. Maybe.
Because like, if you think about what would be the time period that these kids would start trick-or-treating,
yeah,
would probably be about like be born 3 to 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So that would be like between like 2018.
There was a giant boom of people having kids during the pandemic.
I know, but those kids are like still quite young. So maybe next year.
Oh.
Because they would only be like 3.
Yeah.
And not all people are taking their like 3-year-olds out.
That's true. That's true. Well, like, let us know if you can comment, do whatever you want to do, however you want to contact us. What is it like in your neighborhood, in your area? Is it just like where we are? It's kind of died down. Maybe we have a crap ton of Airbnbs around us. Like,
talking to one of our neighbors, and she said, that like her friend who lives a couple streets over had like 83 people.
What the fuck? Oh, so the place that we were at, her sister was there too, and their kid was at somebody's house in like Glenmore, and they had 325 kids come to their house.
Yeah. Also, like, what about the kids whose parents are like, no, like, think about the load that you could be like banging in.
Yeah.
By just like, it could be the same amount as a full-size child.
She only went over an hour, but the whole thing is with my kid is I don't say don't eat candy, but it's like she'll eat candy, but she's not the kind of person who'll be like, oh my God, a box of candy, and like sit and eat it until she's sick or hide it or anything. Like, I keep treats out and stuff like that. And so that way they're kind of there. And sometimes she doesn't even realize that they're there. I'll like throw stuff in. She's like, I didn't even know I had that. I'm like, right?
I think though too, when she's at her house, she doesn't eat candy, but you know sure as hell that as soon as she walks into this household, she's like,
she's going to the gummy jar.
Gummy jar.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing is she'll have like a couple gummies.
Yeah.
But she's not eating half the jar. But and then I'll literally, like, I just threw away the rest of last year's Halloween candy in like mid-August because nobody was eating it.
No, and I also find that like I don't know. The quality of the chocolate.
Oh my God, it's so waxy. I'm getting really disappointed. Reese's peanut butter cups just don't taste as good anymore.
See, and I'm definitely more of like a gummy person. I've never been like a super chocolatey person. And then leading into my next ranching topic, because it's Christmas doesn't mean it's the only time of the year that people are in need.
Oh, that's a big bone of contention for me. I feel like a lot of folks, which it's great if you're volunteering and you're doing all this stuff and everything, but like the local like missions who help people and all that other stuff, they need help like all the time. And I'm not saying like shell out the same amount of help and volunteer experience that you're currently doing around Christmas and all that other stuff, but like there's people who can't have turkeys on Thanksgiving. Even if you donate, like, I don't think a lot of people know this, but I know somebody whose dad actually runs like the Food Bank of Canada. So you can donate food, and that's fabulous. If you have stuff, and you donate it, preferably, please do not donate anything that's expired. But they get perishable stuff from grocery stores and everything like that. So people don't just get like pantry items when it comes to going to the food bank anymore, which I know is one misconception. The other thing is if you give money, the government actually matches it. So the provincial government and the national government. So if you give $1, you're actually giving $3 to the Food Bank of Canada, as an example. And I mean, there's people who are too hot in the summertime where we live. There are people who are too cold living on the street where we are. Just adding that common bit of like courtesy to everyday life is a great thing to do, because I do find that it's a lot. I also find that there's a lot of people who just kind of walk around with their hands out at around Christmas. And by that, I mean, like, everywhere I turn, there is another fundraiser asking for stuff. I'm like, where were you? Like, where were you in August? Where were you doing this? Like, I know there's the traditional one, like the Salvation Army one and stuff like that. And they have their bell and they do all the things, which, fun fact, in Canada, they now have TAP. That's a whole thing. You can sponsor families and stuff like that for Christmas and everything too. But just like, remember, like, if you see a couple things and it's easy for you to donate, or you see some toys on sale and you know that some kids might like them, you can still donate stuff like that to the food bank. So they'll do stuff for kids' birthdays and everything too. There's also like a national organization called Mamas for Mamas, and they do a lot of, you can drop off things like that as well, whether it's brand new clothing. Sometimes they take used stuff. It depends on how much room they have. But
also the other thing is that just because one charity says that they're full doesn't mean that there might be another one that's looking for things still.
Yeah.
Because like when there was wildfires all around us,
everywhere,
a lot of companies were like, oh no, we have too many things, like we're trying to get it out, and people are really offended by it.
People were also offended that some of them started to specify that they wanted brand new items. And they're like, I just don't know why. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to explain why. They're like, why? I'm like, so the volunteers, if you're giving this stuff out and everything, some organizations are required to ensure that the things that you're donating are laundered. Cool. Maybe you laundered and took it in, but there's people who are allergic to stuff. So sometimes you got to do the unscented stuff, everything like that. When it comes to laundering it, if you laundered it, put it in like a storage bag, and then went through a rifle to pull the stuff out, and it was clean when you put it in, it would still need to be rewashed. So what was happening is a bunch of those volunteers were actually taking the stuff home and cleaning it at their houses and bringing it back. And that's kind of like clumsy. Like, it's like they're going back and forth, they're using their stuff. Some of them were on like alert and were being asked to like pack up their shit and leave their houses, and they're meanwhile laundering their stuff. In some cases, it can take a lot of time, especially if you're getting a lot of donations, and they're not grateful. They're very grateful for the stuff that's coming, but they just want to make sure that as fast as it comes in, they can get it out to those people who need it instead of having to wait. And that kind of cuts down. Plus, I think there was like a ton of stores and stuff like that had stuff on sale. Like, I went to Superstore and they had stuff on sale for like $2.
Oh yeah. I think too, like, in high school, we had this thing called the Legacy Project, where every year at Christmas, we would do a meal, and then we would do the packages for like the homeless and stuff.
Yeah.
I personally always bought like dog treats and dog food packaged up, because it's super common for people who are homeless who have a pet to give the meal to their dog instead of themselves.
Yeah.
And then I remember when I had graduated and one of the teachers had asked me what, because it was like a fund that we constantly put money into for fundraising.
Yeah.
And I was like, can we not do it at Christmas? Like, can we pick like Easter? Can we pick like any of these other times during the year? Because it's like, oh, okay. I feel like the amount of stress that regular, like everybody's on during Christmas time is like, oh my God, I have to buy this, I have to buy this, I have to buy this. And someone's like, do you have an extra $2? And you're like, huh?
Because you want, that's the whole thing. It's like, you want to do the thing. You want to help and do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel bad for saying no, but you're also like, okay, well, like I'm buying stuff for my family. I'm buying stuff for my kid's teacher, my kid's daycare provider. I get a gift card and stuff like that for the principal and the secretary because without them, the school would not be running. Like, there's so many little things that you think of. Or if someone's made like a significant impact on your life within that year, you're like, you know what, I'm going to buy a present for them. Or if you know people who are in certain situations, like one of my best friends, the kid's dad passed away a couple of years ago, and I make the effort and I pretend that I'm Ryan and I send them presents. And it's usually like super like low budget, like they're not expecting like some $65 to $100 present, which like he would spoil the crap out of his kids. But they know that like, oh, okay, well, Auntie's sending me that present. Like, I don't know if they figured out that's what I'm doing, but like, I don't feel like it's up to my best friend too, because I know she would spend all the money in the world too. So like, I always think of stuff like that. But there's other people who I don't buy presents for at all. Or I just look at them and go, hey, like, are we doing presents? Like my one sister-in-law and I are like, and do you need anything? No, I don't need anything. Okay, perfect. And we used to go on like Prime deals. And she's like, do you need anything? I was like, I really want a hand blender. Mine just broke. And she's like, okay, perfect. I know exactly what color you want. And she got me a KitchenAid hand mixer. And she's like, it's probably going to come early. I don't care if you open it, but you can use it for Christmas baking. I was like, thank you so much. Like, I love a logical gift. My husband bought me a vacuum, and it was a shop vac. And I had a lot of people who messaged me and were like, oh, how do you feel about getting that? And I was like, very excited. It's actually a DeWalt cordless shop vac. And they're like, what? I'm like, I can plug it in. I can put one of those batteries in it. It works great. It's wet dry. Like, I'm so excited because there's some things that I don't want to use my standard household vacuum for that only has a fucking charge of 20 minutes on.
Oh, yeah. I got a DeWalt one for my name's Costco because we used to have floods a lot because of the washer. And, like, it was great. My back felt so much better.
I know. And that's the whole thing is, like, just getting those little things. And, you know, maybe even just, like, opting to not do presents. I feel like there's so much pressure when it comes to Christmas. I always say, like, no, I will think about Christmas and I'll put things away for, like, people's birthdays and stuff like that. But other than that, I'm just, like, I don't really like to think about Christmas because, like you said, Christmas is so stressful. This year, it's a little bit easier because I'm not having to, like, pre-plan what I'm going to do. Like, when we go see my husband's family, we have to pre-plan. We also have to go on one of the most dangerous roads in the entire world. And last year, it was so terrifying.
Literally on my way to hell.
I almost, like, shit my pants. It was literally scarred my brain. I was so scared. And
No. She was so terrified that she proceeded to send me the location of all the important things, just in case.
Yeah, because I was scared. And it took me forever. A 3.5-hour drive in the summertime when everything's normal took a total of, because I had to stop and go to the grocery store because my mother-in-law was snowed in her house, 11.5 hours in total. It was terrible. Like, it was not the best. But that's the whole thing is, like, there's, like, a lot of stress and stuff like that comes to it. So you're putting, like, mental stress on yourself, financial stress on yourself, which, you know, people are like, you can pre-plan and budget and do whatever. And I'm like, cool, you can do that, but there's a lot of people who can't do that.
Well, I started buying Christmas presents in June because from September to about March is literally 6 months of hell.
Oh, I know. There's always like somebody's freaking somebody's birthday or something like that. But Yeah, it's like the constant like ask, and it's like a plug at the end of the year, and I'm just like, okay, is this a bunch of companies or like a lot of places and stuff like that who just like want to spend their money so they can get their donation receipt before the end of the year? Like, I don't understand why there's always this like chronic push.
Also, you don't have to like voice every single time you do a good deed. I don't.
Yeah.
And like I found too that like obviously I worked in healthcare. So during the healthcare season, I consume just Christmas season food.
That's every day.
I consume a lot of treats because a lot of like families bring them in and stuff, which is amazing. I'm like, this is great. I almost cried because our family brought in stuff in like the beginning of August, and it was like, yeah, like I feel like you guys don't really get treats during the year, but like we just wanted to say, hey, that was like, oh, that's so nice. Because sometimes you're like, I've already had 15 donuts. Or my favorite thing, please be nice during the Christmas season to everybody who is working on Christmas. The statement of, why are you working Christmas? I don't know. The answer is I don't know. Because you got grocery stores that are open on Christmas. You got fast food restaurants. Because not everybody is like celebrating Christmas.
No.
So you got all of those people.
There's also people who can't cook, who go to restaurants.
Who, like, and that whole season is so stressful. The mailing service people, bless your souls.
I know that it becomes like an immediate rush.
Well, and it's like, oh, okay, like you'll have, like there'll be like Black Friday. Yeah, people will be like, okay, pushing out these gifts. I'm gonna do it then. And then it's like Christmas, and there's like 20 times more. And then there's the people who come in and proceed to yell at the service people that are like, you're not doing it fast enough. Like a couple of years ago, one of the cities had like a massive flood.
Oh, yeah.
And it literally like blocked off the city from the rest of the.
Yeah, no, it really did. It blocked off a lot of resources. Like we had all of our food had to be brought in from Alberta. And we usually get a mix of like the lower mainland and stuff coming from Alberta. And we were completely cut off. And the amount of people that were just like, I'm going to say it, atrocious. Their behavior was atrocious. My Christmas present is going to be late. I'm like, there's nobody fucking going there.
Also, like, there was people that died that lost their homes in those floods. It wasn't, if you take a step back, nor, like, if you're a CEO of a company, any sort of management, or you're just a regular worker, if you think that the way that you're speaking to people at stores or anywhere is how you would like to be spoken to at work, and if you say no, maybe check yourself.
Yeah, maybe check yourself before you wreck yourself.
To all of the people in households who make Christmas lists where everything is above $100, $200, $300, I'm not going to put out a second mortgage for Christmas.
It's not like just buy one thing that's really good quality. No, like there's so many different things that you can do. You can do crafts. Like you don't have to follow all the like commercialism stuff that gets put out about things.
Like people are making vanilla extract.
I know, like I love a useful gift, but I've got one of those mason jars before where it's like add 2 eggs and some butter and then you can make cookies out of this jar. I'm like, it's a cute idea. Like there's stuff like that, like things that you see at like Christmas craft fairs and everything. And there's lots of these like fun things that you could do. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do things with the way that the economy is and everything right now. Like don't put pressure on yourself. Also don't feel bad if you have to say no. That's something that I've learned, like especially for like fundraisers at your kid's school. You're like, oh, I'll get whatever. I'm like, I don't fucking need Purdy's chocolate. I'm going to be totally honest. I don't need that. It's a fun idea. You look through the catalog, but like, I don't need it. Do I need a poinsettia? Probably not. Do I have room? No, because Ben has filled our house with houseplants.
Every year. Also, like, Christmas doesn't have to be an extravaganza.
No, like, I'm always up for like a non-traditional lifestyle. Like, I'm going to blow everybody's mind. I don't have a kitchen table in my house. I don't eat at a kitchen table. I'm not going to have one there so you can think that I sit around a kitchen table and do all this stuff. I have great conversations with my kid and I hang out with her all the time. And you know what I eat my food off of? A TV tray or a pillow. and we just hang out and chill and do it that way. And that's just a lot easier for us. And what do we have there instead? Everybody has their own desk. Charlie creates wonderful masterpieces. Ben does his job. And I do household management and print off stuff for Charlie and edit the podcast and do stuff for Overwhelm the Label. Like, I have all that kind of stuff there. And that was way more use of a space. And the funny thing is we have everything where we need it. And I looked at Ben and I was like, where are we going to put our Christmas tree? You don't need the giant Christmas tree. A lot of people think like the bigger the tree, whatever, you decorate the stuff.
It also costs so much to decorate the goddamn tree.
Yeah, so last year, instead of having the giant tree that we got from his aunt, who unfortunately passed away, which we were extremely grateful for, but we didn't need a giant tree, so we went and got a skinny tree. And you know what? It works really great for our space, and that's all that we need. The other thing is I know a lot of people some people are very specific about the way that their trees look. I gave that up once I started having a family, and not in the way of like, I just gave it up. I can't have an aesthetic tree. I'm only having one tree, and if my kid is so fucking excited to put those Christmas ornaments on, and she puts them all down one side, all I do is just turn the tree so that side is facing out.
Last year, our mom wanted the tree upstairs, and I was so tired of putting the same ornaments on, and it just like sagging.
Yeah.
And I was like, I made a bunch of ornaments, and yes, I am the basic bitch who has a white and blue Christmas tree. And it's great, because then I could add random things. At that time, Momo was a puppy.
Yeah.
So, like, whenever we would do things, if she took it off of the tree, it was like a piece of paper, and I didn't really care.
But that's the whole thing is, like, you made stuff. Like, you don't have to be going out, buying all this stuff and spending all this money. Like, I'm going to say it out there. And if I screw myself over for the future for the amount of people who listen to this podcast, but the Dollar Tree is the best ornaments that you can purchase.
It does.
In my opinion, their ornaments are even better than the ones that you can get at Walmart, HomeSense, like a lot of those bougie places.
Like, Hobby Lobby does slap of just, like, the most, like, random ornaments.
Yeah, but they're not in Canada.
I know.
Like, why? Hobby Lobby's great, and you can get tons of shit on sale. It's like Michael's on steroids and a quarter of the price.
Why are Christmas photos this year not ugly?
No, but I love how they call them ugly. Oh, they're my ugly Christmas sweater. I'm like, that's adorable. Like,
it's a Krampus sweater.
Okay, so somebody that I know got a kid whose birthday's in November, this like Barbie, and it was called like an ugly Christmas sweater. It's the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen.
I want the like random hanging things on. The like absolute, like, you look at it and
You
like,
would have thrived in the 90s. Every year our grandmother gave me the ugliest fucking sweater I've ever seen in my life. Sweater weather. I love me some sweater weather.
But like those types of things are like, people will decorate them. I'm really hoping that like the train of the super like into like, let's decorate Christmas sweaters, ugly Christmas sweaters, like,
oh my god, that chick who does all those like DIY girls' nights things, like decorate shoes, make your own doormats. Like, I love stuff like that. Like, you don't just have to hang out. Like, you can hang out with people and watch a show if you want to, but there's lots of things. And you don't have to go to like a specific place of business to do these fun, cool things. You probably have some nerdy, crafty friend. Like, I am a nerdy, crafty friend.
that carolers.
Oh my god, we had carolers who came around one time, and I was like, this is real life. It's really awkward though when someone sings like the 12 Days of Christmas, because it's like an 8-minute song. And you're like standing there like, what face do I make right now? Oh, speaking of Christmas and sweaters, the healthcare, I call it the healthcare line, has launched on Overwhelm the Label, as well as our Christmas sweaters. So as we spoke about before, we curated a smaller amount of them to make our lives easier. And we do have more phone case design. So we have like, you could be totally matchy and you could get like a t-shirt, a hoodie, and a matching phone case. Or you could just get a fun phone case if you wanted to or what have you. And then we set the shipping to $15.99 for you. That is not including customs. So that could like your VAT, stuff like that. And again, we're only in Canada, but
we let's like state $15.99 for shipping. Sounds like a lot, but when we were figuring out the statistics of it, when we had variable shipping,
yeah, and now it's just $15.99. So it doesn't matter what you buy.
And if you want to girl math that, one item for $15.99 for shipping or 2 items for $8.
You do that girl math, you do that neurodivergent math, you do that boy math, you do whatever math you
Christmas math.
And if you have any questions, suggestions, or what have you, we are here. But yeah, there's just those couple of things that come up. What's something that grinds your gears? What's something that just makes you go, why?
Also, shout out to the people who don't shame the Halloween people and don't shame the Christmas people.
Oh, yeah. No.
You can appreciate both. I am not a fan of Halloween, but I sure as hell did my best on the socials this month.
Well, that's the whole thing is like, my whole thing is just like, give me the month of October, please. And then soon as it changes to midnight on October 31st, I'm like, okay, Christmas is a coming.
Don't want love for Christmas. The amount of TikToks that I sent you at midnight.
Yeah.
Because her kid and her husband were playing Jingle Bells on like the 30th, and she was like, I'm not getting in the car. And so at midnight, it would have been today, but like last night, I sent so many TikToks that were like Michael Bublé coming out of the cave.
So just remember to always be yourself and stay as warped and twisted as ever. Peace.